Hey, Brian from RVwithtito.com, and today I got something pretty cool to show you. It's the Pico Smart Monitoring System from SIMARINE. Well, what'd you think? Go ahead and drop me a comment if you want to, and let me know what your first impression was. Because when I first saw this about a year ago now, I was pretty blown away, and I knew this was going to be a game changer for me, and I just couldn't wait to try to get it installed in the RV. And I was trying to think of where would I put that, because it's a good looking thing, and it actually has great information, and I don't have to hide it, back in a hallway or in a corner somewhere. It's pleasing to look at. It's very clear and understandable. I've gone through and installed this whole system in the RV, and I want to share with you what it took to get that installed in the RV, because there were a few things that I actually had to figure out in order to get this programmed and set up and working properly. And I want to show you kind of where I put all the different components and how I got them all talking to each other, and ultimately sending all that good data up here to this display. Oh, and finally, SIMARINE is offering a great discount for RV with Tito viewers. So stay tuned, and I will tell you about that too in this video. So let's go ahead and just get right into it. I want to show you more about this system. About a year ago, the company SIMARINE, the fairly new company, they reached out to me. Yeah, it's been about a year, and they asked me if I'd be willing to test out their Pico system in an RV. They'd primarily been focusing on the sailing and the marine community with their system, and they're interested in branching into the RV and caravanning community. So they offered to send me a system to try out in the RV, and I said yes after checking it out, and so I've got it all set up now. So the basic features of this Pico system is, obviously, first of all, it's good looking. It's got a great display, and that's really what grabbed my attention right off the bat. But behind the pretty display, there's a lot more capabilities, and one of them is it's a modular design. So it starts off with some really good battery monitoring capabilities. So everything you'd pretty much get with a really nice battery monitoring system that really communicates what the state of your batteries are. You can add on tank sensor monitoring. You can add temperature monitors, and you can monitor additional battery sources, as well as some additional power consumers or providers. So there's another shunt module that I'll show you that you can tie it to other circuits and systems, electrical systems, so you can see what those power draws are there. So all of those things can be combined together in one display and one system. And another great feature of this system is that they've really thought it through in terms of how you'd actually put all these modules together. They have a really great little communication system built in between the modules, so you really only need one communication cable to connect a module to another module, or a module to the base unit, and it's really easy to set up. Whereas other battery systems that I've set up, there's several wires and several connections that you have to run back to the main unit. This way you can just run one, and they just kind of become aware of each other through this communications interface that's included in the system. It's fully programmable also, so it'll work with pretty much any any sensor or system in your RV that has some sort of voltage sensing or resistance sensing, and be able to basically program those levels in your RV and your sensors to work with this system. It does force you to kind of take a look at how the sensors in your RV work. So that's where I had to spend a little bit of time doing some research to figure out how to set that up. And there's also a mobile app. That's a free mobile app that you can download that works with this system, and it connects to the base unit via Wi-Fi. So it creates its own little Wi-Fi network, and you can use it to fully program everything in the system. You can also do that here through the main display, and you have all those settings here, but I found it's a lot easier to do through the app. And the nice thing about the app too is that it connects through your phone to the internet, so it can also download firmware upgrades. So every time there's a change to the system, or there's tweaks or updates, you get that through your phone, and it automatically will apply those updates to the base unit and reprogram it. I've gone through several of these firmware upgrades already, and it's just great. You're always going to be up to date with the latest features without having to get a whole new system. Now the base unit here, and it's really the display, kind of the brain of the system. There really is only one connection to this, and it connects to this splitter unit, which does all the communication between the main unit here and the other modules. Now, so it's really easy. It's just one 4-pin communication connector on the back. So not a lot of wires that need to go here. And I do want to mention that I went ahead and got the flush mounted kind of that panel mount here, because I knew I was going to build some sort of control panel like this, and I wanted to mount it inside. And yeah, if you want to check out that video, my previous video, how I built this whole thing, and it'll show you how I got this mounted in here. But they also have an externally mounted display as well, so you can kind of choose which one you want. I think they even have 2 different colors. When you power it up, you're going to see this main screen here, and you can program it to be dimmed after a certain 30 seconds or a minute, and it'll dim it. But right away you can see that there's, let me go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So on the main display here, you're going to have at least a main battery bank. So it's going to show you your overall percentage available for your battery bank. And down here, it's got a little arrow pointing down. That means I'm actually drawing energy out of the battery right now. And it says I have 2 days and 11 hours remaining based on my current load. Now, if I had a generator running, or I was on shore power, or if I had a lot of solar coming in at the time, that arrow would turn into an arrow pointing in the other direction. I think it would turn green. So then it would show that I'm actually taking energy in and I'm charging my battery. And then it'll also show me, it'll change this value to say, okay, maybe you're going to be fully charged in 3 hours and so many minutes. But so it's going to change based on whether you're pulling energy from the battery or whether you're pushing energy back into the battery. So very useful, kind of little intelligent display here. Also, it's going to show me the time, very handy, the date, and at the top here, something optional. You can turn this off if you want, but it'll also show you the barometric pressure. Now, this is something I never really thought that I would need, but it has a barometer built into this, so it can show me, what my atmospheric pressure is, so I can see that the pressure's coming down. I can toggle this to show different time windows. Here's a 24-hour window, and I think there's a 3-day one as well. Here you can see there's a little break where I disconnected the system and where I was doing some work, taking some pictures. But yeah, pretty cool to have that barometer. It gives me a little down arrow, say that the pressure is dropping right now. I showed it to my wife yesterday when I had everything up and running. I said, hey, check this out. And I went through all the screens and I said, what do you think? And she says, I really like it because unlike the other one, this stuff actually makes sense. That basic information, it made sense to her. And so I think that's a great design feature. It's pleasing to look at. It's very clear and understandable. The first thing you're going to want to do with this system is to set up your battery bank in the system here. And The first part of that's going to be to install the shunt where probably right by your battery bank, and wire it into the negative terminal of your battery bank. I already had a shunt installed there for my previous battery monitoring system, so I just put the new SIMARINE system shunt in the same location and wired it up. I will say that it took less wires than the other one did because everything is enclosed in this digital shunt module itself. So all I needed to do was really plug in my my negative from my battery, and then the negative on the outgoing end of the shunt to the load to the rest of the systems. There's a communication cable that I plugged in there, and that got run all the way back to the splitter here. And a couple more things. There's a positive and negative that I wired to the battery bus down there by the battery bank, so that I'm reading my my battery voltage. And that shunt also comes with a temperature sensor, so I went ahead and hooked that up as well, and I programmed that in here to represent my temperature. And I just ran it outside the compartment so I can get a little bit of a outside temperature reading instead of just inside the battery compartment. And you can see the battery screen here. You know, it's going to show me right here my my total percentage remaining. Below that shows my remaining amp hours. So I obviously had to program my total amp hours in to the battery section. And yeah, up here it shows me my time remaining, my current voltage, 12.8, and I'm drawing just about 8 amps right now out of my battery bank. Now let's take a quick look at the settings here. If I just kind of press this here, and I can go down to the devices, quickly look at the battery, my house battery. By the way, you can rename all these devices so that they make sense to you, so they're not just the name of the sensor. So I called this house battery. So you can see here I set it to AGM. It does support multiple types of batteries, including lithium phosphate, iron phosphate, so gel, deep cycle, AGM. Mine are AGM batteries, so that's what I have it set to. Now this last section here, you need to set up 3 different ratings based on the charge profile for your battery bank. And the C20 rating is really the standard amp hour rating for your battery. And they recommend that you have at least one other one. So there's a C10 and a C5 rating. And I had to contact my battery manufacturer and download their battery spec sheets to get some of this other information. So I had to do a few calculations to come up with that in amp hours, and I came up with my C10 rating as 440 amp hours, and my C5, so if I were to drain the whole thing in 5 hours, it would give me 400 amp hours. So all those numbers basically go into the system learning about your batteries so that it can accurately determine what your current battery state of charge is. Now the C20 is my total amp hours for my battery, and that's 450. Now to get the tank sensors and the tank levels to display right, that was a little trickier. Not because of this Pico system, but because of the fact that I had to really kind of understand what my sensors did in my RV. Because I have sensors for water, my water tank, my black tank, my gray tank, and my propane, my LP tank. So, I used the tank module, and I went ahead and just mounted it behind the microwave here. And it's connected directly to that splitter. But then I had to run the inputs from my tank sensors into this device, into this module to monitor the tanks. So obviously I had to go figure out what that wiring was, where it was located, and what I ended up doing was just going to my my existing control panel that shows just the little lights, for the level. And I took it off, and I went online and I tried to figure out which control panel I had, and it did tell me what each color wire was that went to each sensor. So Once I had those colors figured out, I traced those wires back through the wire harness, through the cabinet, and was able to splice into them and create another wire that went for each one of those sensors into the tank module unit. Those were all resistance-based sensors. The tank module can take either voltage sensors or resistance sensors. So there's a ground wire, and then I have 4 wires, one for each of those tanks. So the next step, once I had that, was to program the system. And in order to do that, I have to, first of all, I need to know what the capacity of each of my tanks was. And I thought I knew, but I didn't really know exactly. In fact, I still don't know exactly what my gray and black tank capacity are because they're not written down in the RV. I got my my water tank exact gallons for that. It was like 39 because it's written on the piece of paper that came with the RV that's printed somewhere, probably in your RV. So look that up to figure that out. And also my LP tank, I got the exact capacity of that. So you'll need those numbers in order to set this up, the capacity. And then the next step is to figure out what those calibration levels are. So if you look at, say, your water tank, you know, it has 3 calibration levels on there, usually for like, you know, 1/3, 2/3, and full. And because it's a resistance sensor, it's going to give you a resistance reading. Really, the best way I found to figure out how to set this on my RV to calibrate and program the tank levels was to first empty the tank, and then I pulled up the app, and I was able to go through and say set a calibration point. It actually shows you the current value. So knowing that my tank was empty, I can say, okay, here's the totally empty value, and I got a piece of paper and a pencil out, and I wrote that down. And then I started filling up the tank. And once I got to, say, 1/3, you know, the value of that resistance value would start to jump a lot. So I knew I was kind of near one of those sensors. And it's easy to do with the water tank because you can actually see in there. A lot different when you got to the black tank. Talk about that in a second. But so I kind of went through that process, kind of writing down as the water level got to each one of those calibration points, and figured out what the value was there, all the way to completely full. And then I entered each of those calibration points into the settings on the Pico configuration. So I repeated that process for the black tank and the gray tank, you know, emptying them all out, refilling them, trying to just kind of guess where it was based on how fast the numeric resistance level was jumping. I knew when it started to move fast, it was near a sensor. And kind of just ballparked it and guessed. And then over time, you know, I've been trying to dial it in. Now, finally, I did the same thing for my LP tank. Obviously, I wasn't going to drain my LP tank and refill it up, but I currently know that it's right at about 50 to 55. So, and I know the range, I think, is about 90. I think the sensor on is like a 90 ohm resistor in there, and it's magnetic. So, you know, from 0 to 90, maybe try to come up with you know, a few calibration points in there to get the right gauge on your display. So again, on the tanks, the key to setting this up and getting it to display correctly is really those calibration points. You're going to probably tweak those over time to get them dialed in just right. I don't think it's as important to get the actual capacity values just perfect if you don't really know the exact capacity of your tank, because for me anyway, I'm more concerned whether it's full or whether it's empty or half full, as opposed to whether, you know, I have exactly, you know, 22 gallons remaining or whatever. So once I figure that out, I can always go back and plug in that number here and get the right value. But the calibration points are more important. Now, lastly, before I tell you about the deal, the discount, is I want to show you how I set up those individual kind of energy power meters, and that's using the what's called the quad shunt module. So it has 4 shunts built into it for smaller energy loads. The nice thing about it is it also has all the tank inputs as well. What I ended up doing is just installing it over by my DC power panel, and it's over by my AC panel, but the DC panel is right next to it, because I could see my individual circuits and I could trace the wires going out where the fuse is, and they're all color coded. So if I go out the back of the box there, I could kind of trace those wires to cut the wire and then run them through the shunt. Now if I go to this screen here, you know, it shows my total current, which is my main battery bank. But then below that I have 4 different ones that I programmed in here. So with the LP furnace running, you can see my total current jumped up a little bit, and the appliance is, you know, shunt, the power going through that's showing like 7 amps, and my overall current is 15. So yeah, pretty interesting, pretty useful little display here to kind of see where all your energy draw is going. Now I could certainly go on and on about some of the other features of the system, like alerts. You can set alerts on all of those sensors and alarms, and even set little relays to trigger, you know, when those happen. So that's another cool feature. And if you want me to go in more detail in another video, let me know. But I do want to tell you about the special deal that SIMARINE is offering. If you do want to pick one of these up, or even just learn more, go to simarine.net. That's their website, and you can learn more about these monitoring systems. And if you do want to get a discount, they are offering a great deal for RV with Tito viewers. All you have to do is at checkout from their website, enter the coupon code RV with Tito. Pretty easy to remember, right? So yeah, check out RV with Tito coupon code and you'll get that 10% off. And also I think shipping is free, so it's a pretty good deal. This system, when they sent it to me, it took about 4 days to get to me, and you know, so that was pretty quick. You know, obviously I've been through a lot of this system, so leave me any questions that you might have, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have to say. I really like it. Duh. I've got it installed. The other one is totally removed from the system now, from the RV. So I look forward to using this more and putting it to the test. And hope you guys liked the video. Give her a thumbs up if you did. And I will talk to you and see you in the next one.